Perek HaMekabel Sodem Xaviru Daf Kuf Hey, sponsored Refuah Shalema for the Chayal Ohad ben Erika. The Gemara returns to some of the principles of Perek Ezu Neshech to discuss Iska'os, business ventures not related to land. We need to review some of the related laws. There are two parties to this venture, the investor and the manager of the funds or goods. 2. Half the venture is treated as a loan. The manager must return whether he turns over a profit or not. The other half is a deposit that the investor loses if the manager does not turn over a profit. The Nahardoim explained the Chachamim wanted an arrangement agreeable to both. In spite of this arrangement, Rava distinguishes this from a common financial loan, or if the venture was in the form of merchandise, between the general law of movable property of orphans. Iska is ultimately a business venture. Even the part loan must be invested, or if merchandise must be sold. The manager cannot use them for his personal needs. If the manager passes on, the investor may collect from the orphans. Rav advises two things to avoid for one entering this kind of venture. Number 1, we learned in Ezu Neshech, since half is a loan, the manager is entitled to 2/3 of the profits, whereas the investor is entitled only to 1/3, to avoid the issue of interest from managing the venture. Therefore, the investor, in order to profit, must maximize his third. Dividing the venture into 2 contracts would prevent this. For example, the manager received 2 consignments of merchandise, each worth $50. If included in one contract, the profits and losses of both are calculated together. If 2 contracts, they are calculated individually. If, for example, one loses $5 and the other profits $15, the net profit is $10. The investor's share is 3.5. Calculated individually, half the loss of 5 is 2.5. 1/3 of 15 is 5. His net profit is 2.5. Number 2, 2 ventures written in one contract is the manager's loss. Since the manager is entitled to a larger profit, he stands to gain more. The first venture lost $5. His share of the loss is 2.5. The profit of the second is $15. His net profit is 7.5. However, combined, the net profit is 10. 2/3 of the profit is only $6.5. Rava rules concerning another venture. A manager who initially lost and eventually recouped his loss cannot demand the investor share that loss, because by not notifying the investor, he can claim the manager's intent was for it to remain one venture for the purpose of recovering the loss in order to maintain his business reputation. Rava rules concerning dissolving partnerships. Partners were given merchandise to sell and profit as much as they can for a period of time. After initial profits, one partner wanted his share of the profit. The other partner can object on the basis that the profit is tied to the capital. Even if he is willing to dissolve the partnership completely, the other partner can object on the basis that it began as a joint venture and must continue that way. Even if the dissolving interest agrees to share any losses, he can still object because the luck of partners in business is greater than that of an individual. Now we move on to a new Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses rights of a tenant farmer in relation to the landowner. In a locale where the custom was to weed growing crops, the tenant farmer did not weed. He cannot exempt himself because he has to pay rent regardless of a profit. The landowner can claim he does not want a field of weeds. Even if he agrees to plow the weeds after the harvest, the owner can claim the weeds will affect the quality of his wheat. The tenant farmer cannot offer better quality wheat from the market to compensate because the owner prefers his own wheat. Ultimately, however, the owner needs only one reason. Seeds will fall from the weeds and grow the next season. Now we move on to another Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses the minimum yield that obligates a sharecropper. Tanakama holds enough to create a pile large enough for his winnowing shovel to stand and not be exposed on any side. According to Levi, it's 3 saws. According to Rabbi Yane, 2 after expenses. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. The amount of the Tanakama is illogical. A large and a small field should not be the same shear. He holds the amount that obligates a sharecropper is enough seed to sow again. In Rabbi Yochanan's time, 4 saw of seed sufficed to produce a kur. In Rabbi Ami's time, the land was not so fertile. Only 8 saw of seed sufficed to produce a kur. The Gemara digresses to mention other laws of the Academy of Rabbi Yane. Number 1, Rabbi Yane states poor quality olives produce 2 saws oil from 3 kur olives. Number 2, a zav who sits on a weak tree, one that a quarter cob cannot be cut out of its trunk, or a weak branch, one that his fist can wrap around, contaminates a tahor sitting with him. Number 3, one who walks through a Beis pras, on a weak man whose knees knock together, or on a weak animal that defecates when ridden, over loose stones, the rider becomes tummy because of the concern a bone was moved by the weight of the stone. Number 4, one holding 4 cobs cannot shift his load but must put it down to pray. The shear also applies to a burden carried on one's head, pressing on his tefillin. If carrying dung, he must tie his shel rosh on the arm with his shel yad. Beis Shilo holds even his tefillin zekel should not be on his head when wearing tefillin. This tiny shear is 1/4 of a quarter liter of puntadisa. The last law concerns leket that wind mixed with regular grain. Tanakama holds the court estimates how much leket will fall on a field that size. Rosh Gamliel holds 4 kab of leket per core.